Well, welcome to our training on ACTs and SATs and how we administer that here at Class 101, what it's all about, and what do we believe in when it comes to these ACTs and SATs. I have to tell you, I used to be a ACT proctor here in the city, so I actually used to give the ACT test. So I really learned a lot during those years that I was a proctor and saw kids take this test and really the importance of doing this particular test. Um, the first thing I want to say is the is the difference between the ACT and SAT. All right, nowadays in our PC world that we live in, it makes no difference whether somebody takes the ACT or the SAT. Right? It doesn't matter. Almost every scholarship program out there you see, it will say you need a 26 or a 1200, right, on the ACT or SATs. So the ACT and SAT, as we all know, are college admissions tests for entrance into college. It's a standardized way across the country for kids to take the same test and to judge their scores. So obviously, the very first thing that we have to do is we have to figure out which test is better. So that's what we get to do in our new brochure that we have. Let me go ahead and kind of show you a little bit of that. We have this new brochure that will be coming out. As Randy had said on our last FDM meeting, we've been working on the last couple months, taking a lot of the materials from Matt McCorkle from Clear Choice and kind of turning that into a Class 101 brochure. So as you can see here, it's showing some of the differences between the ACT and SAT. What is the SAT content overview? So this will be made available probably in the next 30 days, if not sooner, for you to be able to share with your clients and with your particular prospects. Now, we're not necessarily going to use this as a marketing tool, as Matt has suggested us not to do, but necessarily use it with the high schools and use it with our particular clients and so on. So it's really cool because it shows some of the particular reading questions. What's the difference between the SAT writing and language and the ACT English, as you can see there? What are the differences on the math between the SAT math and ACT math? What that might mean as far as some problems go and how they're structured. And then, of course, the science, which there isn't really necessarily science as a science part of the SAT, and as we know on the ACT that there is. So this is our new brochure. Again, really proud of it. We kind of turned it into the colors, make it a little bit more of what we're familiar with. This particular page you're going to see right here. And if you take the test on the SAT or ACT, and then some of the particular test dates that are going to be out there. So you'll see some of our particular materials out there. So really the first thing that you have to do with any of your particular students is find out which test is better for them. Right? Are they an ACT person or are they an SAT person? Typically in the past on the ACTs, right, if they were more math and science, so a lot of boys would be better on the ACT and a lot of girls because of the Englishes, and they were typically better readers, and they would tend to be better on the SAT. It also depends on your community. Right? Our community here in Kentucky, they give away free ACTs during the junior year for students. So most of our kids are just trained to take the ACT. And because they judge our high schools here in Kentucky on that ACT test and the improvement of that test from year to year, the teachers now teach towards that ACT test. So you got to really kind of get to know your market. But ultimately, when it comes to ACTs and SATs, you have to find out which test is better for the students. So there's charts out there. Again, our latest brochure is going to show you a particular chart. And so these are the averages for a college-bound senior. Okay, not an average for somebody that's a sophomore or a junior, but what are the averages across the country for a college-bound senior entering college? That would be roughly a 21 on the ACT and roughly a 1060. So you see differences on those every year, and it always kind of is weird that it's a 533 and a 527 as far as that goes, but that's roughly about what the percentages are. Now, why do we do that? We do that because obviously entrance into college, but also more importantly for scholarships. It's what we do as a company. And by the way, the chat line is open if you do want to chat some questions in on some different types of things. We really do want this to be open. And again, hopefully here in a little bit, we'll put John and Joyce and Scott off mute, and we'll be able to get them on there and see if they have any particular questions. So for us, it's really easy. I showed the University of Kentucky chart. Okay, so this is the chart that they show on the University of Kentucky for Kentucky residents in Kentucky, going to University of Kentucky, right? So we have a scholarship that is called the Provost Scholarship. And if somebody has a 25 and a 3.5, they get nothing, right? If they have a 3.7 and a 24, they get nothing. They have to have a 3.3 and a 26, but then they get $2,500 a year. Times 4 years, that's $10,000. So what we have is a lot of kids that are in those lower to mid 20s, and if I can simply get them up to a 26, because typically they have this GPA, and if I can get them up there, then they get $2,500. Now what's new at the University of Kentucky is they added a new one this year. Now if you have a 3.3 and a 28, you get $5,000 a year. So think about how many kids here in Kentucky have a 24, or 25, 26, or a 27, and they need to be shooting for a 28 because that can make them $20,000. Right? So why do we do this? For admissions into college, yes, but also so find out which scholarship program in your community, in your area, kind of really hammers home the point of why we do ACTs and SATs, because it's the number one way of making college affordable. So I can get one kid with 1 point or 2 points, and they might make $10,000 or $20,000 more. And the parents have no idea that typically this scholarship program exists. That's rendering value. That's what we do. So when it comes to our classes, we help for admissions, for ACTs. We find out which one's better because look, somebody might have a 24 on their ACT and have a 1280 on their SAT. And if we go back to the chart, a 24 and a 1280 is way up here, should be equal to about a 27, right? 1280 and a 24. But so I would know that they're a better SAT test taker and they should be taking SAT materials. There are not average scores available for sophomores and juniors that I've ever seen out there. They base this on, the great question, John, they base this on seniors. I also don't know exactly how many they take, which is another great question, but I can tell you our typical student would take 5 or 6 ACTs or SATs. But when they're juniors, you're trying to figure out, when they're juniors, right, which test is better for them. So you look at their PSAT scores, right, which is the sample SAT, or you look at ACT scores and you look at a particular chart, or which one they like better or which one they feel better about, and you kind of encourage them in that particular way. Now for us, what we do, okay, when it comes to kind of our particular course, and what we do in our course, or our ACT course, or our SAT course, right, is we have a philosophy of what we do. And so on our new brochure, which you're seeing part of the new brochure that's going to be coming out, again, also in the next 30 or 60 days, you'll see a new brochure that you're going to be able to hand out to people. That's really an upgraded brochure from what we've had before. But what does it say on here? It says on here what we teach, right? And we teach techniques. We help them with their trends, their timing, and their tips. So what do we do here at Class 101, right? We pretty much have 2 missions. Our first mission, what we do as a company, is to help a student with their top 10 trends. That's what we do, because those are the areas of greatest improvement. So when you're talking about what do we do in our class, what do we tell people? People can relate to top 10 lists. That's why we say that. Also, I tell my students, hey, I'm not going to help you with everything. You don't have enough time. This isn't a 20-week course, right? But if I can help you in 10 areas, your top 10 trends, your areas of greatest improvement. That's what we do from our score report, is we help students with their greatest areas. How do we do that? Is we help them with our T words in our class, right? So we're going to give them the different types of techniques. In other words, what to look for, whether it's a word concise, or whether it's finger magic, or whether it's to really get those first math problems right. On the SAT, it's a lot of the same things, right? Being a top student, right? That's a technique, thinking on paper, right? When it comes to the SAT, what's the difference between the maths? Knowing and understanding to use your calculator or not use your calculator. Timing, right, is a big part of it. So techniques, trends, timing, and tips. Those are our T words. So our first mission, and what do we tell people about our class, is we help them with their areas of greatest improvement by helping them to find and develop their top 10 trends. And we also teach and have them experience the T words in our class, the techniques, trends, timing, and tips. That's what we do. Okay? And again, feel free to chat in some questions if you'd like. So, what's our pillar in our business? What's our Class 101 pillar? In other words, these are the things that our business stands on. And we stand on in each one of our locations that we give 2 classes per year in each of our franchise locations. Now, those are up to you, right? In other words, like when do you have them and how do you do them and at what times and so on. But obviously, you have to do one in the spring because that's typically the main time. So you'd want to do one in the spring and you'd want to be able to do one in the fall. So those are the kind of the 2 that you should be doing every year as a franchise. Okay? So now those classes can be 4 or 8 weeks long. Can be a 4 and 8 week course for the ACT or a 3 or 6 week course for the SAT. Now, what we have found obviously to be most beneficial is the 2 biggest ones, right? Is an 8 week course and a 6 week course. But here in November, in December, or for the particular state tests, that might be more difficult. So most franchise locations do extra classes. I am currently getting ready to do one here in November. It starts next week, and it's a November-December for the ACT, coming up on December 8th. We also have a state test, as I had mentioned earlier. So we'll do one in January and February for the state test that's going to be given here in the state of Kentucky. Now, we kind of have a very unique thing, but a lot of states are giving away free ACTs or SATs. So there's a March 9th SAT, and then there's a March 12th ACT available for the state of Kentucky public schools, state of Kentucky. So I'll do a class probably late January, February, early March for the state ACT. And then you could do like a power camp. The ACT came out with an ACT right smack in the middle of the summer. So we do a power camp. And why do we do a power camp? Well, it's a power camp meaning a 1-week class. Last summer, I did a 1-week class. So I did 5 classes, 4 hours a day, 4 hours, right? Because it was in the middle of summer. I had to pretty much jumpstart them from their summer, right? From their summer mode. And I did 4 hours a day times 5 days a week, one for each one, and then a review session. And that really helped kind of get them into the class, right? So typically, a franchise location would do 3 to 4 prep classes throughout the year. Okay, so what do we do and how do we do it? We obviously have 2 missions, as we stated earlier, from our particular class. And so you got to have a checklist of things to have available in your particular class. So number 1 is the dates of your class within a particular schedule that you might be looking at. So underneath our Dropbox, okay, you're going to be able to find some sample schedules. So if you go here, you're going to be able to find some sample schedules of a 4-week class, an SAT class, and a 4-week or an 8-week class, 6-week class, like here. So this was in Grand Prairie, Texas. So again, a sample particular class. Now, some of these things sometimes change. We're now 21 years old, and so you got to kind of review this every time that you have a particular class. But you can see that Tanji in the Grand Prairie, Dallas area did reading, writing, math, reading, writing, math, and then kind of review on the last section. And again, targets the November 3rd and a 6-week class. So you'd want to be able to set up your schedule, something like that. So those are available, again, underneath our Dropbox sample schedules. Now, the other thing that's really going to be important is leaving now an extra week before the test. That's probably one thing that we have not done in the past, but we're finding we can do a lot of individual sessions with people the last week. Why not have an extra week built in there, right? So if you look at Tanji's schedule, right, per my recommendation, by the way, wasn't Tanji's fault, right? She ended her class here on October 30th and November 1st. And then the test was Saturday, November 3rd. Well, what we're now going to do is kind of leave that last week open. So, and having a 1 week open. So if you do end the class, right, you would want to end it, and then they still have a week to be able to study and review and do individual sessions and hopefully try to generate more dollars for each franchise location. It also gives them enough time, because sometimes, like when you do science on ACTs, you're doing it the final week, and heck, they only have 2 or 3 days before they take the test, and they haven't really learned that much about science or really done that much homework on science. So now we're leaving a week before the test. So that's something that is new according to this coming test. So you'll be hearing more and more about that. Now, I would send in your dates and times. Now, I got to tell you, this is not something that I love to do, but almost every time I find a little typo, right? You put the wrong date on there, or there's a wrong time, or it's AM instead of PM, and we want to make sure that these things look perfect. So don't be afraid to send in your course with your dates and your times into us to make sure that we can proof it for you, make sure that it's right, that you have the right branding on there, and so on. Once it's done, and once it's approved, and you have it to be perfect, then that's when you want to get your copies out to high schools, put it on Facebook, and then I start handing out multiple copies to my students that I have right now and telling them about the $50 referral fee. Because everybody that comes to class, that they get to come to class, we tend company-wide to give a $50 referral fee to those students. You then want to make sure that you have your 10 or 15 or 12, depending on the, how much interest you're having in your class, but you want to make sure that you have enough license and books from ClearChoice. It's going to take a week to 6, 7, 8 days, business days, to make sure that you get your materials. So definitely order that from ClearChoice. And again, there is a video on ordering that underneath the ACTs and SATs underneath Class 101 University. And then you set your class in the system. So that's what we're going to do. That's what I'm getting ready to kind of show and set up the class, and then start to register your students. Review your first week of class, your answer sheets, and then after the class, you enter in your parents' emails and you check weekly. So really, what does our class come down to? Is the basics of our class is lessons with a few of our main tips. So that's what we do in every one of our classes. The first 30 minutes, 40 minutes, maybe first hour, right? We're going through our book and giving some lessons with a few of our main tips. So if you're starting off with English and English for the ACT, then you're going to talk about the word concise, and you're going to talk about reading before and after what's underlined, right? We then give them a test to be able to work on their timing and build their ACT or their SAT muscles. We then produce a score report so they can kind of see their areas of weakness, right? Or their areas of greatest improvement. Then we give them the tips. We give them review work to work on. So whether that's quizzes or other things underneath our platform. And then we repeat with accountability next week. So let's go ahead and take a look at our particular course. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take John off mute here, and Scott. And as we go along the way, if you guys have some particular questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those. So hopefully, John, I don't know if I can unmute you or how you're logged in. Maybe you're just logged in on your phone there. But Scott, I do have you off mute as far as that goes. So what you're looking at here is obviously your platform, right? Everybody has their own. So here's Scott's, of course, in Bergen West and New Jersey, and everybody has their own. So what I went ahead and did is saved my particular class to show you how I'm going to set up my class for the up and coming course. So what you do here is you set your particular class, new class, and you're going to set that for the date of your test. So for mine, it's obviously December 8th ACT. Okay, so that's what I want to save my particular class as. So as I create a new class, I'm going to now have that underneath my classes to the left after that recycles here in a second. Okay, so I'll be able to have that particular class. So that's what I want to be able to shoot for. So December 8th ACT. Okay, now once I have that set, I can now start to register my students. So what I do is I register a new student right here. Okay, it is very important to make sure that you register a particular student. Okay, and you put their gender on here for their little emails that they're going to get. Targeted test, of course, would be, make sure you put the right December on there, not December 2019. And let's say I have a 24, so typically I go 2 or 3 points higher, unless the student, and I can change that later. I don't necessarily worry about the high school or the graduation year. I'm going to put the particular email in here, class101.com, and then I always send a copy to myself. The reason why I want to be able to do that is so if they lose it, I can resend it back out, or I'm able to redo this. Now then you would hit save. Now this does not activate an account, right? So this is actually also how you do a community ACT. And there was a question on here, do I charge more for the individual sessions? Absolutely, right? We currently charge $75 an hour to do an individual session with students. So that's the whole point of it is, if somebody wants to come in and review some final things, why not have 4, 5, 6 students that final week that you can do a lot of individual work with, or maybe 2 or 3 sessions before their test, right? So that's why ending a week earlier is kind of a smarter way of going for next year. So we charge $75 an hour. I used to charge $50. Now we're up to $75. And I believe we have a few people in our company that do charge $99 an hour for a 1-hour prep course of reviewing things. Great question. Okay, sure I didn't miss any other ones. So once you set up an account, you don't have to necessarily activate it. I would only activate account once I have received payment. Because when you activate an account, right, you need a license code, right? So you have to enter a license code. Now, what I can do is I can save this underneath my old AOL address, and I'll put in here a different name because I'm already registered in here, and right, I would hit save. So once I hit save, now the welcome email has been sent to that student. So even before my classes start, right, I'm sending welcome emails out to my particular students, right? Even if they haven't paid me, it still isn't costing anything, and they can start to get the platform and start to register on our particular system. Now, underneath my December 8th, okay, you're now going to see Tom Brown is located underneath my December 8th class. So every time I want to enter a new student, right, I would just hit this, hit new student, and enter that student in here. Once they have paid, okay, that's key. Once they have paid, then I would go in here and activate them and put in my activation code. That activation code would then turn them to like Mr. Alex here. Then it's going to be blue. So instead of it being all kind of dark in the background, now it's going to be blue, and that student is going to have and be able to do stuff within the system. By the way, even underneath this, right, right, they can't necessarily get to everything up here, as you can see. They can do a test. That's how you can do a practice test with them, right? But they can't get to the lesson map and other things like that. What you want to do is you want to have a student and have them be able to get to a lesson map. And that's the lesson map. So this is Alex, who I do personal prep classes with. And he's actually also joining my prep class here in December. So if you do have somebody you're doing some individual work for and you want to move them into a particular class, you would simply move them up here. Okay, moving the student into class will delete all the student's incomplete work, rearrange a student's completed work to fit the class schedule, and assign a class work to this student. So being he has not done anything yet, I can now put him into this class. And so as you can see, he's now ready to go. Okay. So being his license is already activated, so his parents obviously have paid me. By the way, it was $1,000. Okay. So that's what I charged this family for some individual lessons, and he is going to do this December class and so on. Okay, I do see another message on here. At what price are you doing that? We have the 129 platform. Okay, so Gene asked a question, what are the prices? Okay, so starting in January, all my $299 classes I'm going to take to $399. All my $499 classes I'm taking to $599. So just in general, that's going to cover the majority of my costs. Now, what I have been doing for like my students for like that are going to be $299s that sign up for this class, I do tell them that they only have access to the platform during the class. If they want to sign up afterwards, it's $149. So my new favorite invoice is $448. $299 for the class, plus $149 for the license that they're able to keep it for a year. And so it's a $448 sale pretty much to enter in our class and to be able to keep the platform for a year. Again, if you are meeting with people and not necessarily just trying to sell this over the phone, it's pretty easy to explain that they're going to be able to keep the platform for the next year. So watch just kind of trying to sell this on the phone. That's why I always like to do a meeting, and so be able to show them and then get into our college planning services so they can see all the services that we provide as far as that goes. Okay, so that's how we would do and set up your class. So you set up your class, you enter students here, and then what you would do is you would open up your particular class material here. So being I am now on the whole class itself and not necessarily a student, what I can do is assign this on next Thursday. And so it will open up next Thursday different parts of my first part of my class. Assign on next Thursday, assign the homework drill on next Thursday. And so that's going to cover my first week of class for English. Now, where did I get that? In our agenda. So if you go underneath Dropbox, again, here for ACT class, you're going to see that there's an ACT agenda for class right here. Okay, same thing for the SAT. If you go back here for SAT, you're going to see there is a 3-week agenda for the class or a 6-week agenda for the particular class. Okay, so we'll do this. So the very first thing I want to be able to do is I want to be able to have a blank answer sheet. So there is a blank one. There's one set up for the 16MC3 class, but there is a blank one in here too. So you want to make sure if you have 10 people in your class, oh, that's not it. That's the baseline score report. Okay, so if this is what you have in your particular class, see if I can make that a little smaller if I can. Okay, now you can kind of see in here, right, the particular practice answer key. So what's nice about this, it has the student's full name, email, the parent's email, their current real ACT or their baseline score, their current ACT goal, and then what practice test they're going to be doing. And then we have left this on here. Please leave answer sheet on table after the class. So all I do is I print this page and the second page for an answer key. Now there's more pages on here, but that's because like for the essay and other things like that. And obviously we do not need that. So if I have 10, 20 people in my class, I'm going to print these 20 answer keys and have them fill this in. So what we do when we start our class, okay, so underneath the agenda, the 2018 ACT Fall Prep Agenda, again, what do? What's our dynamics of our class? Is we do a lesson or lessons for 45 minutes. We take a practice test. We then give them some tips in the last pages of the book or the last page of the book. The very last page inside cover, you can make a little chart in there and have them write down their tips on the last page of the inside cover. I do know some of the new books don't have those extra pages in the back, but those are coming back next year in 2019. And then we give what we call review work, which we would have them put in the front inside cover of the book. So your class is actually all mapped up roughly according to about how much time you're going to need for all the different areas to cover the 2-hour class. So the introduction for the very first week, what I want to show them is I want to show my students the Class 101.MyACT course. So what I have them do is I literally have them write down, right, this thing right on the inside cover of their book. So I have them open their book and write class101.myactcourse.com. We have them also write down our network, right? So when they come in, they know how to log right into our particular network and be logged in and ready to go. So after that, now I have my TV up. And I have my students that are obviously using their particular computers. As you can see, here's 4 students in my class, one of my last classes. I finally got kids to bring in their computers, and there's 4 computers here, and the students are actually doing their particular work right on their computer, or they obviously can do it in their book and then enter it into their computer later. That's what's nice about our system is you can do it in their book. So if not a lot of people are bringing their computers, they can just do it in their book and then enter the particular materials in there later. So what's our class made up of? Again, it's made up of lessons, taking a test, and then doing a score report, tips, and review work, and then we repeat with accountability. So what does it mean for the accountability part? Well, what's it mean is it means that in here, pardon me, underneath emails, you want to make sure that you put in here the mom or dad's email. Okay? You also want to make sure that you're clicking weekly progress report. So here's a kid I'm simply just doing outside prep for. Now he's going to be jumping into my class, but parents will be getting a weekly progress report every single week. So let's take a look at my son's. So he obviously went through the October class. Okay, so you can see the particular emails. Nope, it's not pulling up my son. So there's my son up there, but for some reason it's not pulling up that. Yes, so John asked a question, is everything in the ACT guide? In the book, it absolutely is. Okay, so let me go back to Alex since it seems to have a little glitch, probably because I have so many of these pages opened up. But what's really cool is you can kind of see here on Alex, right, it's going to create a report. So, right, we've created this progress report. It comes out every Monday. By the way, I also get a copy of it because I want to see what my students are doing too. So every Monday morning, right, When my courses are going on, I literally get 30 or 40 or 50 emails, but it's going to give me an update on what the students have done. So now, again, Alex hasn't even started this class. I just brought him in I brought him in on Sunday and showed him how to do the system. And we just logged on. I got him going. And you can see to date, Alex has spent 44 minutes logged on to our particular system. Okay? So again, what's nice is it has a lot of accountability to it. Okay? Can I make you the presenter? I don't quite understand that of this. I don't know how to do that actually on GoToMeeting here as far as that goes. So if you can just ask the question, I'll be more than happy to do that. So if they don't pay the $149, do I activate their license after the course ends? I sure do. You can unactivate it. So what you do is you go to the course, right, and go ahead and push this aside. And all the particular account materials and different types of things like in here are all set up in here, right? Allow students to log in prior to activation, right? To temporarily prevent the student from logging in. The student has not yet been activated, right? So there's different types of settings here depending on what it is. So that goes all underneath account, okay? Right now they're all set up to hit this just automatically, okay? So yes, after the course, I would then make them inactive as far as that goes. Okay. So everything in an ACT study guide is on the ACT platform. That is correct. Exactly what's in our book is on the particular study guide. Okay. So the only thing that's different is, and you guys should have your instruction manuals, right? Inside all those instruction manuals, it obviously gives all the particular answers. And that's obviously different than what's in a student's particular book. So if you go here to the lesson map, again, and you have a lesson map, so this is actually going to match, as you can see here, it says pages 18 to 21. So if you pull this up, it actually says page 18. So that's actually what's on page 18 for the particular students. Okay, if you do the adjectives and adverbs here, there is the challenge that I normally do in class, like a challenge, the lessons in between on pages 24 and 25, and then I might go to page 26 and do the set of practice problems. And again, the preview of that is right in here. Okay, so you could actually see exactly also what's in the particular book. Okay. Great questions, everybody. Keep them coming. So do we have to activate lessons and homework for each student individually, or is there a template to apply to all? That is correct. So there is a template. So when you set it for your class, so once you go to your class here, okay, and you go in here and set it, it's now automatically set up for everybody else. Now he's not activated, so that's why it's not set up. But anybody in my class, so if I went here and set something up for my last class, like these particular things, it would set it up for all of the class. Now what's really cool is the dynamics of all the things that you can use with this system. See, I could actually tell from my class, from my past class, right, I could actually go through here and see of the challenge questions, which ones was the hardest or the easiest. I can even tell which students actually completed it and which ones watched the videos. See, when it's half green, half red, that means a student has watched the videos. Matthew Pavin, thankfully. He did this and missed 4 and watched the videos, right? So that's good. Okay, you can see somebody went through it and didn't finish it. So in my particular class. So it's really cool. Now, sometimes they do it in their book and they don't put it into the program. but that's where you would maybe take some time at the beginning of their class to open up their computers and help them enter stuff in or do different types of things like that. So that's what you would want to do. Now, I got to tell you, I'm really excited because next year, okay, next year, what you're going to be able to do is hit the planner and the course templates. These will be, you'll be able to apply a whole course template for your particular class. So we'll have on here Class 101 ACT 4-week class, Class 101 ACT 8-week class, Class 101 SAT 3-week class, Class 101 SAT 6-week class. So right now these are set up, but they're not set up with how we do them. So that's why if you set one of these, you can see that what their sessions are, but again, it kind of blows through maybe the whole part of the book. Okay, so that's how that is. Okay, if you activated a student before they paid and don't show, can we get the license back? Okay, you're not supposed to be able to get the license back. Not supposed to be. If it's some kind of unusual circumstance, let me know. I have sent one to Matt before because somebody got registered twice because of the student and we got them their license back or something like that. But again, right, you shouldn't be activating people until they have paid. Really important. So should we apply the same homework to all the students? Yep, and then assign quizzes every week. That is correct, Scott. So what you would do is you would go in here. So let's look at our old class. Again, we can look at Matthew Pavin since we know we got permission from Matthew. So we can kind of look at his particular lesson plan, and you can kind of see because his name's Matthew, he thinks he's really good in math, and so he got a lot of greens. Greens means what? He got them all right. So nothing really to work on here, right? If it's something like yellow, right, he probably missed a lot more. As you can see here, he missed 4. So that's why the lesson map is so really cool, because you can just look at it and be able to see, oh, it's red. Red either means he hasn't done it or he did really bad on the particular quiz. So if I go to parallelism, right, and I say, gosh, this guy just isn't doing really well on his parallelism, yep, then what I can do is I can go up to quizzes. And as you can see, Matthew has actually had a lot of quizzes on some of these particular things from our last class. But I can create a new quiz, and I can go up here and create a quiz, and that quiz would be, maybe it's for commas, right? So I can set commas. Now you probably want to exclude the workbook. We're getting some more material. Again, there's 4 things that are going to be coming out at the beginning of the year. Some more materials for our lingo, our language, those course templates, some new things on video solutions on tests will be coming out. So we're really excited about that. And then, again, some other types of little ways to be able to hopefully leave notes in the particular system. So if I had commas, I would hit search here. I can hit this, and it would give Matthew 15 particular questions on commas. I then can hit this, right? And then I can assign a date, right? So put in here a particular date when this might be due, and so on. Typically, it's going to be a week after you assign it. You should always do a week is our method. So I can assign that. I can even leave Matthew a note, right? So this will help on English. Okay, so I can leave that, and if you look over here, right, it actually leaves Matthew a note. Matthew, this will help on English, right? Good luck, you're doing great, and I can print this if I want to, right? So I can literally print the quiz and give it to him in person, or I can assign this quiz, and it's going to assign the quiz, over here on his particular list. Okay, as far as that goes. Now he's already completed this one right here. So he actually got it assigned and completed it 5 days later. Right? You can see some of his completed work. Right? So typically due a week later, and this one was incomplete, 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 and so on. So Now, Matthew has a test on here. So as we went through the particular tests from our course, right? So right here, there is a test. So where are the tests located at? They're in our Dropbox underneath the different sections. So here is the particular test. So you would print that as of right now. You can give it to the student. They can take it online. But being they do want hand copy, we want them to be able to do it hand copy. So that will be important. Okay? So, right? So basically a lesson and then a particular test. So you're going to have them take a test. When they get done with the test, then I have them fill in their answer key, or they can fill in their answer key along the way like they would in a normal test. And then again, they would leave the answer key and then we enter in them afterwards. So you would go up here and enter in the particular tests. So this is Matthews again. So you can see that this is the test that he did during our particular class. Now, it hasn't been in the past a place where you can go and just do it section by section, because then that student would have the availability of editing their own tests. So we typically don't do that. So what we want to do is be able to go in and enter it in ourselves. So that's what we do. So I can print and send an email, right? So I can send the results to a parent, right? And then I can also, right, also maybe even just make a copy of it, right? Print the score report. So sometimes what I do is I'll print the score report, save it as a PDF, and send them the whole score report. Or I'll print it off and give it to them. Okay? So change right here. Save as PDF. Okay? And give it to them. This is Matthew's test results. So now I can really see from our class where he was testing. So this is pretty good because from his earlier, a year ago, a baseline score, he had a 21. So now he's shooting for a 24 on this particular test because that's kind of what he's done in class. His English has gone up. It was always low. His math has always been higher. So now I have the whole score report and I can be able to see his trends. So what are his trends? Right? Different types of things in idioms and word usage. A trend for him would be what? Right? Things with organization, adding a sentence. Maybe redundancy. Again, English is his lowest area, so I might have 3 or 4 of his top 10 being English. For math, really no particular, but it looks like percent problems, right? He had a problem with, which surprises me, but you know what? Sometimes they just need a review on exponents or functions. Those are 3 of his areas. On the geometry and stuff, right? Pretty good. Nothing really bad. If there's only one question, I don't necessarily always consider it a trend. In the reading, right? I know timing is important for him for reading. But again, 5 out of 10. Why? Because he didn't finish. He was rushed on the last section. So there's different types of things that these score reports are going to tell you. So then what I can do, right, is basically get a, right, some kind of top 10 trends report and be able to list it all out for him. Right? So there's one for the SAT, there's one for the ACT, and I could actually, improvement comes from working on your areas of weakness. Now, we probably need to change that. Again, we're doing areas of greatest improvement. We used to say areas of weakness, but the book, along with our new terminology, that probably needs to be changed. But again, the top 10 trends. So think about it. If they paid $299 or $399 or $499 and they left our prep class with their top 10 trends, with the score reports, with the quizzes in their area. Sometimes, even if that student doesn't go up, which again, we have 80 to 90%, right, victories, but even if they don't, they still get a lot from our class. Definitely $300, $400, $500 worth of materials and kind of results on that particular student. So it becomes a super valuable class no matter what. Okay, so I know I've done a lot of the talking, John, or again, Scott. It might be easier for Scott. Is there any particular questions on setting up your class? Yep, I can hear you, Scott.
Okay. I fully understand setting it up in the software.
Yep.
I guess my doubt is just setting up the actual um, curriculum for
Okay.
the course. But that I know is all in there. I'm sure once I do it once, I'll be comfortable with it.
Absolutely.
It's just
Definitely a cannonball mentality. Absolutely. Right. There is a setting up a course video here. As far as that goes, you simply have to just read through it. I was very honest with my students because my students, from the spring had a whole different kind of criteria. So we actually literally sat them down and told them it was a brand new system. We're super excited about it. I might not be super smooth on it at the beginning, but bear with me. We'll learn this together. And I think there's so many more benefits in this system. You're going to love it. And I simply would have the agenda right here in front of me, this agenda right here, and I would print off week by week. And all the people that teach our class actually get a whole agenda, and I literally would go through it and read through it with the students. I have done the class now, Scott, 6 times. So from July when I first got the materials and was able to get into the system, I have actually went through the materials and the pages, and I took the quizzes myself. So a lot of the material I have done, and I've been doing this business for 21 years. So yes, you have to go through and do it, and do it on your practice test. I looked at your practice test. You've done a lot of stuff on there. Is that all you just kind of in the last couple of weeks trying some of the stuff out?
That's me just trying to relearn it all.
Okay, yeah, excellent. Do you mind if I show it?
No.
Okay, so you can see here that what Scott did is he did his particular, let's look underneath his, and then Scott's practice. So when we say practice, this is what we're talking about here. So you can see on Scott's lesson map, right? He's really good in a lot of things. Maybe not prime numbers, Scott, but besides that,
Been
right?
a while.
You did pretty good. To be frank with you, even a little better than me in some of these particular English areas. I normally do well here, and then these are my lowest areas. But you've done the right thing. So just practicing this yourself is what you would need to do. Yeah. I love
Can you
picking
just go
up
back to the
video.
agenda, please?
Pardon me?
Can you go back to the agenda, please?
Yeah.
Just just to recap, so they take their test, that 45-minute test,
Yeah.
and then you have them enter their scores in ClearChoice, or no?
No, I don't. So what we do is we go through a lesson, roughly 45 minutes. So I know that, about 55 after, right? Or maybe 50 after, I'm giving them the test, which they go for 45 minutes. And then I take about 10 minutes to grade it. So I literally grade it with them. So what we do is we tell the students to put a big X next to the problem they missed. We actually do not tell them to put the right answer. So the answers are right in Dropbox. So right here are your answers for the particular areas of the test. So again, here would be English. So I simply read these off. The students then put a big X next to the ones that they missed, and that's what they're going to take home and review, right? Review those strengths and weaknesses and review that score report that's going to show up in 24 hours. That's what we tell them. Most of our proctors after the test or sometime that night are going to enter in the test results. So what
Got it.
we do is we have them graded. We then make sure that their answer key is filled in, right? So whether they did it in class or they do it right after class. If they do it right after class, it simply just takes a couple minutes of filling in a bubble sheet, right? So they're going to bubble in that, and then they leave that answer sheet on the desk, and I fill it in. I fill it in later that night. That's correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, perfect. That's why we have you on here. So, because you're asking questions, maybe I'm going too fast through or something. Then I take the last 5 or 10 minutes and give our English tips. So, what does that mean? Is I'm literally going to go through our tips, and I give them all 6 of our English tips that week. Okay? So concise, read before and after what is underlined. Roughly 1 in 5 answers is no change. Think in paragraphs. Check for context clues and substitution. Now you say, hey, I don't maybe know what some of these are. If you watch this ACT tips training, it actually has me explaining the tips. So if you say, hey, I don't know what substitution means or some of those other different types of things, you can actually just watch that video and it actually shows you how to deliver the 6 tips. Okay? So really awesome material there. So in the back of their book, so if we go back to our presentation, they go through lessons, they take a test and work on their timing. It helps them to develop their score report, which again we do later. We give them our tips and then our review work, and then we repeat with accountability. So in week 2 of our prep class, right, here's week 1, so you're going to do the intro and you're going to do all of that. But in week 2, I review the 6 homework assignments. So I'm literally going to review and make sure that they have done this because I can tell in the system if they haven't. So we literally spend, right, the first 10 minutes of every class and making sure that we're reminding the students that Monday emails, the Monday email to parents. And why does our system work? Our system works because there's some accountability to it. So then what I can do is I can take my class and show my particular class just in general. And sometimes that's what I do is just show it in general. Oops, excuse me. And I can show my particular class. And sometimes what I do is I show them that, look, hey, we got a lot of work to do here left. As far as that goes, right? We only have so many people that have completed this. And again, I don't throw anybody underneath the bus, but I tell them, hey, if you completed this, make sure it's in your system. Because it looks like, right, we have a bunch of our students, and maybe I'll just show them, the first couple parts here. But make sure that everybody's doing this. Okay? Okay, so it looks like there was a question there. So can we change? Can the day of the week of those weekly emails are sent? If I'm teaching a Saturday course, there's not much time. That's one thing that ClearChoice is working on for us. That's a great question. Same thing for me because I do a Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday class. So it's actually right in the middle of our classes. So what I often do, just not to throw the kids underneath the bus, what I'll do is I'll extend it longer than what it's really due for. So in other words, if I have parts of speech and I want to assign it for today and I'm doing a Tuesday, Thursday class, I'll do it from, a week. Now, let me go here. All right, so sure I get I gotta assign it over here. Assign this unit for today or assign on, right? So I'll push it down the road so it doesn't affect the kids that came early to classes on Saturday and Sunday. I'll make it due at the end of the next week course so it doesn't show up not due. So put it out another past, instead of 7 days, it might be 10 days or 12 days down the road, and that will help you take care of that on the homework part. Okay. You can also reassign stuff. So if you want to go back in, you can reassign a particular type of thing. All right, so that's kind of our class and how it works. Again, you have class settings here, right? Quizzes, right? So you can do different types of things. There's all kinds of stuff that we're just starting to really know on how to use the particular ClearChoice. This is pretty cool. This is a summary of my class. So I can see the 10,900 questions that my students have done. and my whole entire class what they need the most work on. See, that's perfect for what? A school, right? You could have a school do this whole test, and now you can show them that, oh my gosh, look at your trigonometry, right? Your trigonometry is really low or really high. For whatever the reason, the plug in the answers, the back solve, everybody from our class got those right, or the people that did the quizzes got those right. The detailed questions, right? And so you can see in every single section, that's how that would work. So it is pretty cool to be able to show a whole entire school, or maybe a team. If you do the basketball team, or maybe you do an English class, and you say, hey, I'm going to do this to help you just for your English. And you can go in and just do an English class and see what areas of English they need to work on at a particular school. Remember, those kids will be in the system. They'll see it, and they'll see Class 101, and they'll see that. They won't be able to do anything into the system until you activate them. In other words, until they have paid, as far as that goes. Okay? Do we have any other last-second questions from anybody? Sorry about that. I am a little under the weather, and I was coughing there, so I'll see if there's anything else in the chat line. Thank you for the review. Appreciate that. Again, it's like anything else. I'll be more than happy to do individual stuff with you if you want to set up and look at your class. Once you go through it, it will help. Look at the agenda ahead of time. Scott, what you did, all those particular is wonderful. You put a lot of time and effort into it. You will be a pro shortly. After you administer 1 or 2 classes, then it pretty much you do become a pro, and it helps you to really know and understand our class. Okay, so I hope that has helped you to set up your class and where some of the dynamics are. Look for some of those new materials to come out. We'll get better and better and better and better at this particular way that we use our system with those templates and other things next year. It will sure be exciting to be able to use those. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for being on the call, and look forward to hearing about your first or your next big class. Thank you now.